Don't be a boob. For more videos like this one, please subscribe to this channel.
Aware that morning commute may be a little bit on the slow side because of the wet weather. Here's a look at where Lana is going to be going next. We mentioned the rain into southeastern Louisiana. Some snow is going to be moving in across parts of Mississippi, even into Jackson, Mississippi, into Tupelo. We could get some light accumulations here, even into northern parts of Alabama. But Birmingham, we think it's going to be rain for you. Montgomery, this is going to be Monday morning, as well as into Mobile, getting that wet weather. Atlanta should be a rain event for you and stretching down towards Tallahassee. The Carolinas, notice where that moisture kind of gets cut off here. So we're not expecting much for snow into the mountains of western North Carolina. Last week you got a nice dosing. This time around, not so much. This should just be clipping the coastal areas still into the early morning hours on your Tuesday before this begins to pull out altogether. So here's your forecast for a place like Tallahassee. That rain moves in tomorrow afternoon and will continue intermittently through about the midnight hour.
Water from the roads can be dangerous, so let's not discount the wet travel here in the winter season, Jackie.
Yeah, and the flood threat, too. And, of course, all of our seasoned Weather Channel viewers out there probably know this already, right? That if you encounter water over a roadway, you turn around, don't drown. But what happens if that water comes to you and you get swept away? Our meteorologist, Jim Cantori, went to the experts to learn all the right moves.
This is, I think, a great reminder is other drivers. Jackie, whether you're a truck driver, watching out for people that might be distracted, or if you are a driver and there's a lot of trucks around you, you behave different or maybe tense up. Some people get nervous around that.
Yeah.
So you got to think about yourself and what other people may be doing.
Absolutely. I like what he said about space management. I feel like that's always a good thing. I mean, I'm always trying to stay behind or in front of semi trucks. Give yourself, a lane over if you can, if you're on the interstate. But of course, you don't have to be a big rig driver in order to be at risk on the roadways when there's inclement winter conditions. Meteorologist Mike Bettis has some tips of what everyday drivers can do to stay.
Kicking up water from the roads can be dangerous, so let's not discount the wet travel here in the winter season, Jackie.
Yeah, and the flood threat, too. And, of course, all of our seasoned Weather Channel viewers out there probably know this already, right? That if you encounter water over a roadway, you turn around, don't drown. But what happens if that water comes to you and you get swept away? Our meteorologist, Jim Cantori, went to the experts to learn all the right moves.
This is, I think, a great reminder is other drivers. Jackie, whether you're a truck driver, watching out for people that might be distracted, or if you are a driver and there's a lot of trucks around you, you behave different or maybe tense up. Some people get nervous around that.
Yeah.
So you got to think about yourself and what other people may be doing.
Absolutely. I like what he said about space management. I feel like that's always a good thing. I mean, I'm always trying to stay behind or in front of semi trucks. Give yourself, a lane over if you can, if you're on the interstate. But of course, you don't have to be a big rig driver in order to be at risk on the roadways when there's inclement winter conditions. Meteorologist Mike Bettis has some tips of what everyday drivers can do to stay. Could be as much as 50 miles per hour. So imagine that over a prolonged period of time. It's not like just a thunderstorm wind gust that hits you at 70 miles per hour. It's frequent 70-mile-per-hour gusts for hours and hours and hours. So that is going to be the concern here. Rapid City, clouds already moving in. It's a warm wind, so you could get up to near the 60-degree mark. I think you could have done it higher than that had we not had the cloud cover, but the rain's going to be pushing in by 5 o'clock tonight. Look at all the wind gusts and wind damage reports across the west. So this is what's coming into the northern plains and the Midwest. We've had 144 different reports of those extreme winds, and that causes damage and causes power outages as well. So you can see the precipitation is winding down. That's the good news, and you can kind of pick out that leading edge of clouds there. That's where the cold front is. Still gusty on the back side of this, and lots of folks without power. In fact, look at the areas where most people are without power. We're talking the Seattle metro area over towards Spokane. Lots of folks without power here, and now we're seeing those outages into western parts of Montana, too. Washington State has the most outages still, and when we add all those up, in that state alone, got about 500,000 people who don't have power, who don't have heat right now. So we have a huge difference between our pressure systems. We've got our low pressure storm tracking just north of the U.S. border, high pressure down towards the south. The greater the differences in pressure, the greater those winds. You add in the terrain of the northern Rockies, and that complexes it even more because those winds will accelerate as they go down the mountains. These are known as Chinook winds. They tend to be a warm wind, so your temperatures do go up. But as I mentioned, they accelerate and they can get very, very strong and cause damage. So check out Billings, Montana. Look at the winds this afternoon, likely getting up there around 70 miles per hour at times. Temperatures in Rapid City likely into the 60s, but it's a limited area where you feel that warmth, and then the cold's going to kick in on the backside of all of this. So showing you the area where we've got the high wind warnings and the high wind watches, which have been put into effect. You get into plains, it's going to be more of a 40 to 65 mile per hour wind report, and into the mountains, we're talking 70 to 90 mile per hour winds at times. So folks who are in these alert areas really need to be prepared to lose power. Chris?
And all that.
And we'll start it out with the snowfall forecast totals, and the models are showing some similarities across the region. This is the Euro, and the time frame starts tonight and continues through your Saturday. And notice the big target here across parts of Minnesota and in northern parts of Iowa. Both models showing southern Minnesota and northern Iowa really the big bullseye, the location where it will be most likely to get a half of a foot of snow or better. Could get a few spots up here in the northern parts of Wisconsin. I think a lot of the energy with this storm is going to start northward and then start to work its way down towards the south. So that will spread a swath of snow along the I-80 corridor from Des Moines over towards Chicago and even into parts of lower Michigan that's been a little bit deprived of snowfall. It is on the way. So we'll start out with the Euro model and talk about some of the differences. Notice that wintry mix starting out. A lot of the snow is going to be coming in for Minnesota and Iowa, for example, on the backside of our area of low pressure. That's where the colder air is going to be coming in. That's where the strong winds are going to be coming in, and that's where we could get most of our accumulating snow. The Euro brings it down towards the south and east and then works its way towards the Great Lakes and eventually transfers that area of low pressure off the coast and almost becomes kind of an inside runner here into the northeast. Now, what does the GFS do? Let's take a look at that as well. And the GFS starts out similar with some of that wintry mix, brings that low down across parts of Wisconsin with heavier snow bands on the backside through parts of Minnesota and Iowa, but it tries to keep a little bit more of a northerly track as it moves towards the Great Lakes and then eventually brings some of that energy off the coast. So we still have some questions as to how this is going to play out in the northeast too, but right now I have a high level of confidence that this is just going to be rain along the I-95 corridor yet again, but this could bring some really good snow to the ski resorts across parts of New England. So that's a little good scenes like that for the ski resorts. That's when technology steps in. The Weather Channel's Dave Malkoff went to Sugar Mountain, North Carolina to see how those snow blowers make enough powder to cover acres of land.